So the newest PBS and NPR Marist poll is just out, and it's a blockbuster for two key reasons. First, it shows Bernie Sanders with a double-digit lead, and second, it shows that Michael Bloomberg, and not Joe Biden, is the key challenger to Bernie Sanders. Let's take a look at the numbers. Bernie is sitting at 31%. That puts him up 12 over Michael Bloomberg at 19. Joe Biden is at 15, Warren at 12, Klobuchar at 9, Buttigieg at 8. And if you look at the movement, Bernie is up 9 from the last time this poll was taken, and Joe Biden is down 9. Michael Bloomberg, however, is up 15, cementing the fact that he is now a national contender, at least, to win the nomination. Warren down 5, Klobuchar up 5, Buttigieg down 5. So there's a lot of movement in this poll. A lot of people are up or down significant amounts. But what really matters is those top three. With Bernie being up 9, he's really been able to build a substantive, statistically significant lead in the national race. And this is the second national poll in the last few days that puts Bernie Sanders with a lead north of 10% over second place. But of course, Joe Biden's collapse, combined with Michael Bloomberg's rise, has really shifted the top two. For a long time now, it's been Bernie versus Biden, and everyone else quite a bit behind. Now, Michael Bloomberg appears to be replacing Joe Biden as one of the top two candidates on the national scene. Biden is still fairly close, so it's not impossible that he could remain in that race for second place with Bloomberg, but given the trends, given that almost every poll has him on the downslide and almost every poll has Bloomberg on the upswing, it looks like Bloomberg is going to become the second place candidate in the national polling. This is a great poll for Bernie Sanders for a whole lot of other reasons too. I won't read all of the numbers out, but I'll post the list on the screen. Bernie does very well across almost every demographic. He wins with people making above $50K a year and below $50K a year. He wins with white voters, he's very close with African Americans, and he absolutely dominates with non-white voters generally. Bernie Sanders also wins Democratic voters, but also people that identify as independents, and wins among independents with a higher level of support than people who identify as Democrats, indicating that Bernie Sanders may well have the best potential of bringing over people in the general election that don't identify as either Republicans or Democrats, that broad group of people that really do see themselves as independent and often make the difference in close elections. Bernie Sanders is undeniably the frontrunner here. There's no doubt about it. Bernie's been the frontrunner for a few weeks now. Bernie Sanders really became the frontrunner when he had a good Iowa, when he won Iowa by any reasonable metric, and Joe Biden tanked in Iowa. And his frontrunner status has only increased as he won New Hampshire and as he's clearly in the pole position in Nevada, as we explored yesterday in that particular poll of that state. But now, the choice is as stark as it's ever been. Look, I've had lots of disagreements with Joe Biden, Pete Buttigieg, Amy Klobuchar, Elizabeth Warren even. But they ultimately, I believe, belong in this race. You might not agree with them. You might not think that they're able to beat Trump. You might think that they represent the neoliberal and corporate wings of the party too faithfully and don't represent working people. But they belong in this race. They represent a viable coalition of Democrats. Michael Bloomberg does not belong in this race. Michael Bloomberg is an oligarch. Michael Bloomberg, in a way that no one else in this race is a racist. Michael Bloomberg has enacted the sort of policies that put him much closer to Donald Trump and the Republican Party than they do even the more right-wing Democrats in this race. Michael Bloomberg was a Republican until very recently. He has been friends with Donald Trump. He has defended Donald Trump. He has opposed minimum wages. He has supported Social Security cuts. He has done all the sorts of things that Joe Biden and the right-wing Democrats have done, and then even worse things at even higher levels of intensity. Michael Bloomberg is trying to buy this race. This is what Bernie Sanders has warned about, manifesting in the very contest Bernie Sanders is trying to win. Bernie has warned about this entire time, that billionaires are trying to buy the political process. And in many ways, they've succeeded over the past couple generations. But it's never been as stark as one individual billionaire running for president, spending hundreds of millions of dollars on TV ads, basically buying up all the political staffers, buying people's support, buying people's allegiances, even when those people opposed Bloomberg months ago or years ago or even weeks ago. This demonstrates the fundamental danger that Michael Bloomberg poses, not just to the Democratic Party, but to the very essence of American democracy. And because we're talking about American democracy, this will have global impacts as well. Michael Bloomberg cannot be allowed to carry the banner. He cannot be allowed to represent the Democratic Party. In so many ways, guys, and I say this without hyperbole, and I understand the seriousness of the claim, Michael Bloomberg could well be worse than Donald Trump. People might say I'm ridiculous, but he could well end up being worse than Donald Trump for working people, for people of color, for marginalized people of all sorts. Michael Bloomberg is a fundamental threat to all the same people that Donald Trump is. And if you think that Michael Bloomberg's money, all the money in the world, is going to mobilize the young and racialized voters to go out and defeat Donald Trump, I don't think it's going to happen. I think you're wrong. I think that the only kind of person that can defeat a candidate like Trump is somebody who can negate and expose his fake populism. Only Bernie Sanders, with a genuine appeal to the working class in all its complexity and diversity, has the ability to defeat Donald Trump. No one else in this race can do that. Least of all, a billionaire who lauds himself about being better than people, who lauds himself about policies that discriminate, who's made fun of farmers, who's made fun of working class people, who suggested that old people, when they get sick, shouldn't get health care, and that we should basically have, panels that decide whether old folks live or they don't live. It's the fear about Obamacare, but it's real this time. Michael Bloomberg is not going to be able to manifest the grassroots movement to defeat Donald Trump. The energy will not be there. The enthusiasm will not be there. And even if by some miracle he does win, he will implement the sort of vision that Donald Trump believes in. And he may be worst for America because Bloomberg is probably more competent than Donald Trump. And he will get Republicans and many moderate Democrats to buy into his vision, meaning that he might have an easier time passing right-wing, regressive policies than a Republican president ever would. Michael Bloomberg is a threat to democracy. He's a threat to the effort to defeat Donald Trump. And if you want to look at the person who can defeat Donald Trump, look at the man, the only person that fills more stadia than Donald Trump, that drives more crowds than Donald Trump, that drives more individual donations than Donald Trump, that when he's not fighting with 10 other people for donations, will out-fundraise Donald Trump. And that's Bernie Sanders. He leads in this poll. He's the national frontrunner. But we cannot let Michael Bloomberg off the hook. Every step of the way, everywhere. He has to be called out on the fact that he's an oligarch, that he hates working people, he hates farmers, he hates the elderly, he hates the marginalized. He cannot be allowed to be the nominee, and even him being the national runner-up is really, really troubling. Everyone needs to unite to ensure that whether you love Biden or Warren or Klobuchar or Buttigieg more than Bernie, you have to admit that Michael Bloomberg is not what the party needs, and he doesn't represent the views of Democratic voters.